carnivore versus non-carnivore. I think it's probably quite comparable, but I think the carnivore diet is better, but mainly because...
So, Jonathan, you are a professional bodybuilder. 18 months ago, roughly, you had spinal surgery, and last week you won an open competition in bodybuilding. People are going to ask, what foods, what supplements do you take when you train, and how the did you manage to go from not being able to walk properly to winning this competition?
That's a good question, a very good question, and it was of extreme difficulty, which is, in my opinion, completely misunderstood, and people don't really entertain the idea that a disabled person can achieve what I've achieved. I did acquire a lot of pride from it. I'll say that. I'm used to being very humble. Anyone that watches my channel knows I'm not overly dogmatic. I'm not aggressive with my thoughts. Anyone that says I am doesn't know me, obviously, by any measure at all. I'm very careful with my words. I try to be careful not to sound too domineering, but more ultimately, bold, tall, 6'1", muscular guy in shredded shape with a tan. You're going to get a lot of grief online from naysayers and negative men in particular. They just can't hack the idea that a disabled guy did better than them or something. And it really stresses them out. So I do get a lot of troll comments, and I'm sure I'll get a lot in this one, as I always do. But just to get to the point we initially said about the professional bodybuilder, no, I'm not a professional bodybuilder. However, I do have a professional level physique. If you put my physique on that day on stage, roughly 1 week ago by the time we've actually recorded this, in the US, I would be a professional right now. The quality of competitors in the UK is significantly better than anywhere else in the world, or at least in the main Western countries that we typically speak of, so Canada, US, Mexico, places like that. Now, how did I do it? What supplements did I take? Well, I had to micromanage my day. Every part of my day is managed within 10 to 15 minute segments, intervals. So, for example, upon recording this, I knew that I had about 30 to 40 minutes of sitting down. I'm sat down on my spine, which is wrecked, and it is always in pain, and the pain never lets up. The only time I don't feel pain is when I'm fast asleep, or if I was intoxicated under strong medications. Sitting down is painful for me. Lying down is painful for me. Existing is an enormous pain for me. So I do want to get that very clearly across in this interview. The person you see in the thumbnail, the videos, the photos online, is not a representation of this easy, going guy that just has it all easy. And it's not easy, guys. It's not by any measure. I'd consider myself very disabled in a number of different ways. So when it comes down to the supplements, and how I did it, I had to micromanage my entire day. So I had to work out, okay, what am I going to do Sunday? Because today I'm recording with my lovely friend Pim on Sunday. And I was like, okay, what am I going to do today? Okay, well, yesterday I did a lot of steps. So that day's going to work out fine. I don't have to cancel as long as I've had enough rest throughout today. So that's been fine. But say, for example, I walked the dog earlier. If I did 15, 20 minute walk outside by the river, by the lake, I might have to cancel this interview. I might have to sit out. I might have to be a burden to someone. I might have to say no to someone. So that's the kind of level of pain that I'm in all the time. So it means micromanaging my day all day, every day. The difficulty I have is other people managing themselves around me. So, for example, I've been invited on interviews, talks, been allocated times, been sort of, it's not taken too seriously. I've been in situations before I was waiting nearly 2 hours for someone to turn up for something. And at the point they actually saw me and turned up, I was actually lying down on the floor in tears because I cannot sit down on a public bench for more than about 10, 15 minutes at a time. So that's kind of how I'm managing my day. Being very structured with my day, for my calendar, arranging what I can and can't do, choosing easier options, cycling rather than walking sometimes is better. If I do walk, I can't walk in the sense that I keep up with other people. My walking pace is typically around half the pace of an average 18 to 60-year-old person. I'm very slow at walking, and I cannot walk faster. So it means people around me either have to walk ahead, wait, or I have to find another means of getting somewhere. So my life is like that all the time. And I'm not trying to say this to be all poor me, but the thing is, I think this will be the first interview where I really talk about it, because I want to be really transparent here. It's hard work and it's not easy. but there's always light at the end of the tunnel. So when it comes to my experience of like using different supplements, ergogenic aids, different things like my training, my diet, everything is managed in such a way to optimize what I'm doing. So for me, getting that 1% edge, 1% benefit from, I don't know, maybe taking taurine first thing in the morning so my digestion's a bit better, maybe using glycine 3 grams before bed. Maybe that helps me recover a bit better, maybe a bit more sleep quality. All these little minor biohacks, they do add something to my life. The unfortunate thing is they are expensive. So competing, as some of you guys may have realized, is very expensive. I'd say in total, including food, supplements, ergogenic aids of any kind, competitors' fees, tanning, hotels, travel, my show probably cost me about £4,000 from the point I said I'm going to start dieting for it. So most of that's obviously going to be food, big guy, a lot of food. But a lot of these hidden expenses do exist, and it is quite cost prohibitive for a bodybuilder, especially a disabled one who's, should be on benefits or could be on benefits, but isn't, living a very honest living, making YouTube content, doing content creation, running a consultancy service, coaching service, all that sort of thing. So I'm doing the best I can with the hand I'm dealt, and I was not given an easy hand at all. I also live with autistic spectrum disorder, which is, you'd have to live with it to really understand, or know someone or live with someone as Pim does, to really understand the intricacies of it. We're all very different. We all have our own pros and cons. Some things it makes my life a lot easier. I've got a better recall than most people. I can remember everything. I'm like a damn elephant, which is really helpful when you're working with clients. When I'm, working with 15 clients closely each week, trying to get them from A to B with their body composition results. I must admit, there's times when I know something's happened, or I can see maybe they haven't checked in on time. Maybe they've actually done it the day before. Because I'll look at the clock on their wall and I'll see, so these bizarre little intricate thoughts and things that I notice in like check-in photos, and when they've actually checked in, I can see it all. I see a lot more than other people. That does deliver me a great sense and great deal of sensory overload and sensory processing, which is something people with autistic spectrum typically exhibit. That leads to extreme fatigue at times. So you may notice sometimes people like Bart and I, and we both live with autism, sometimes we just got to know our own boundaries, know our own limitations, explain it to other people, or just say, I am well and truly fucked. I can't do anymore. And I will spend the whole day lying in bed. But I'll spend the whole day lying in bed anxious because I haven't been able to achieve what I wanted to achieve. So if you're a alpha type personality, a go-getter, someone that wants to achieve things in life, some people are, some people aren't, that's fine. It's very, very hard to live that way. It does take a lot of willpower, determination, and discipline, but we persist, like I said earlier, and you just have to find ways to micromanage your life and try to achieve the goals that you want to achieve. But yeah, hopefully that answers your question.
Some of it. What about the food? I know you're obviously you Carnivore Muscle on YouTube, so obviously you're a carnivore. If we are looking at the whole journey, let's go back 18 months in time when you actually did have the surgery. Did you eat differently when you were recovering versus when you started building versus when you were shredding before the competition?
That's a good question, yeah. So I did follow more of a easygoing, eat what my body tells me kind of approach. In that at the time I really craved eggs. I really craved a lot of them. So I was eating about 12 jumbo size eggs a day.
Nice.
Each weighing, I believe each one was weighing about 75 to 80 grams raw out of the shell. These are enormous eggs, guys. Turns out, wasn't a live stream of Harry. We're talking about choline, rebuilding nerve tissues, which mine were destroyed during surgery. It turns out the choline, all these other cofactors do help rebuild nerves and regenerate all those sort of things there. So that's kind of my impression. Your body will tell you what you need up to a point. The journey's been up and down since there. Now I don't eat as many eggs. It seems to be something which gives me a slight a viral flare up, which I find quite annoying at times. So I'm quite limited. I can't always have like a load of eggs each day. Maybe one day I'll have 2 eggs. Next day I might not have any. But I can't just have 6 eggs anymore, which is annoying. So your body's dynamic. the diet changes. The diet is always dynamic, and the perfect human diet does not exist. The lion diet is not the optimal human diet. It's a proposed optimal human diet based on an idea that we've eaten 80% ruminant meat plus. The reality is, guys, we've eaten much more than that in our history. Some of us eat berries. I don't eat berries. Some of us eat honey. I don't eat honey. Some of us can eat eggs and dairy, and that's the vast majority of people can tolerate eggs and dairy, with the exception of dairy being that 80% of the world's population cannot. Fortunately, if you're white and you're watching this, you're probably middle-aged. You probably can tolerate dairy. It's probably not going to be massively deleterious to you, and I think it's quite largely overstated. And a lot of these extrapolations that I'm bringing about here are because of what I've noticed in speaking to people. As in, I speak to real people. I don't speak to content creators, with the exception of Pim, Bart, and a few others. The reason being is a lot of them are lying to you. They try to give this perception that, oh, I cut out dairy for 2 weeks, and this happened. It's all sensationalistic, guys. Most people do consume dairy. Most people do consume eggs, and most people do consume seasonings, sauces, sugar-free sauce, ketchup, and stuff like that. What you see online, how strict people are, is not the case. I've seen this firsthand in person as well in health conferences, so it's not the reality. But that's what I want to get across here, is that there's a whole spectrum of diets. My spectrum of diet is a mixed animal food diet containing dairy, eggs, fish, poultry, ruminant meat. Do I have seasonings? Not as much as I used to. Salt, yes. Water, yes, obviously. And do I eat my food raw or cooked? Mostly cooked. Nearly all cooked. Am I adverse to things that are raw? No. Yeah, it's a topic for another day, but yeah, in terms of like my food intake's changed a lot. I notice in the winter months I'm eating a lot more oily fish. Some months I tend to eat more leaner cuts in some months. I don't know why. I think it's something to do with the capacity to absorb vitamin D from the sun, which is going to be much greater if you've got more body fat in your body, you consume more DHA, so on and so forth. More cholesterol. That makes sense to me, logically. The summer months, you run a bit leaner, you get a bit hotter. Probably less need for additional vitamin D for the diet. But in terms of like macronutrients, because that's what counts, me telling someone they eat, 80-20 does not help them at all, doesn't tell them much at all. It just says they eat a lot of fat. In terms of amounts, typically I'd say I've been around 350 grams of protein, give or take a bit, for the past 5-6 years, probably at least the last 4 years. I've been carnivore now for 4.5 years. My fat intake is the main lever, the main thing which varies, and that tends to go from contest prep, which is around 120 grams at my lowest, and the highest I've eaten is about 380 grams of fat per day. So a lot of food, a lot of fat, and a lot of butter, mostly from butter, guys, which has not killed me. So it turns out butter's probably good for you. But yeah, I've pushed the boundaries and I've worked out what's possible. And I'd certainly say the fat is the main lever in terms of things I've manipulated over the last 18 months or so.
How can you eat that much protein? Are you eating protein powders, or does it all come from real food?
Okay, so I've been experimenting now with bodybuilding diets for about 15 years.
Yeah.
And I understand your question. I understand people watching this probably thinking, yeah, but you don't need that much. It was contained to sugar. No, it doesn't.
Me,
I can tell you, no, it doesn't.
actually consuming it. If I was trying
Consuming
to
it.
consume 50 grams of protein from meat, it would take me a week, it feels like.
Yeah, some people don't have the appetite for it. I mean, the thing is, I train very, 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 very hard under the safest discipline I possibly humanly can. My muscle fibers are torn up to hell when I train. I'm pretty convinced there's not a way to train harder unless someone was actually putting the weight against me and hurting me. So I do push the boundaries there. Some of muscle fibers do require more protein than other people. Living with autism, there's lots of comorbidities. Leaky gut is one of them. Digestive issues. I probably don't absorb maximally what I eat, which I think is probably just something which is an ongoing thing. If I have a stressful day, I'm pretty sure my digestion isn't quite as good. Same with most people. So I think I do overconsume in terms of what I probably need, but not by that much. In that, I've tried reducing it before for 250 grams of protein per day versus 350. Can I sustain that? No. Can I sustain that if my fat's high? No. My appetite tells me to eat more. And I'm sat there and thinking that is not enough food.
Nice.
Now, it's not like I'm binge eating. It's more like I could eat more fat, but my guts would erupt straight away. So what do? I need to eat more food. I'm not satiated. Well, protein's going to be more satiated. Proteos, Greek etiology, the first one, the most important one. So proteins are something you have to nail down and get stable. So I realised in my contest preparation, to feel satiated, my protein has to be at 350. Where am I going to go from there? If I'm dieting down, losing body fat, and I'm trying to get leaner, okay, say I started at 300, then I'm very lean. Okay, my body's craving something. I'm not hit that satiety signal. I'm not got the amino acids in that I need. Not got the vitamins, the minerals, all the sort of things that you find in meat. You know, what happens then? You know, there's always has to be some plan B. Some point Z. You know, in the table. You can't just assume that one diet will always work. You have to have a reference point of this, what I need right now. It may change, but if I go below this, it won't be sustainable. So that's the necessity for protein explained. The other thing is, you mentioned about like protein powders. Yes, I do use them. They elevate my blood glucose the same as food. And also to the same degree, to the same peak, to the same trough, to the same level, area under the curve, in terms of blood glucose compared to any other food. Because every meal I eat is a mixed protein and fat meal. Now, for other people, it's not a prescription. It's not me telling them that they can do that. But I've noticed myself with lots of testing, experiments. Bodybuilding is a big science experiment. I've noticed that myself. I'd have no issue maintaining a healthy blood glucose level, healthy HbA1c, other blood markers by doing that. And if something was going to creep up on me, it would have done it by now. So there we go. And in the past, guys, I've been up to 550 grams of protein for a period of at least 9 months. I didn't die. I didn't die. There's your thumbnail.
Yeah,
you didn't die.
You didn't die. No, and it's just my mind is blown. I just don't know how people physically do it because I can't eat a lot of protein. So I'm just like, what? 500? That's crazy.
Absolutely, yeah. I understand it's a lot. Yeah, it's not something many people would do. Maybe a fraction of a percent of bodybuilders. So
yeah. So speaking of that, I know you've been carnivore for a long time now, but if you try to recall what it was like when you were lifting or building in the past on more carbs, would you say that there is a difference in your energy, how hard you can go at the gym when you're actually exercising now versus then, or is it kind of the same?
I'd say my overall training performance is lesser. You're sweatier when you train, when you're on carbs. You're more bloated. You don't sleep as well. Your digestion is not as clear. You put more mass of food in your gut versus when you're on a carnivore diet. As much protein as I've just said I've eaten, I was eating about double the weight of food each day when I was on a mixed macronutrient omnivorous diet. So that tells me my guts were wrecked, and they were wrecked. My health did suffer for it. I'm not convinced absolutely that a ketogenic or carnivorous diet is going to give you massive performance benefits in terms of in the gym, in isolation, carnivore versus non-carnivore. I think it's probably quite comparable, but I think the carnivore diet is better, but mainly because the impetus is on maximizing your health. And if your health's better, you can begin to progress further and further. So you can up the ante more without having risks to your health. So, for example, I'm a bodybuilder. My blood pressure is normal, blood glucose is normal. Pretty much every blood marker is normal that I could probably think of. Now, if I was to be heavier, have the more inflammatory weight, excess sugar in my body, inflammation, whatever, then my body weight's going to be higher. And when my body weight's high, I'm not going to sleep as well. My chest is going to be as I sleep. So that's not going to be very fun, is it, guys? I mean, if you're wearing a CPAP mask and say I weigh 10 kilograms more than what I do now, what's the point? I'm going through all this extra inflammatory overburden for no reason. I'm not getting more out of it. When I've proven beyond doubt now, with at least 3 well-tracked, well-recorded experiments, that a carnivorous diet is better than a carbohydrate diet for my purposes, in my niche, in my individual sport. First example, Carnivore Bodybuilding competition 2020. I want to say it's 2021 now. I might be wrong. But yeah, I did that one, Carnivore, and I was shredded out of my mind for 18 months straight. My show was postponed during that lockdown period for 4 goes. So it's postponed 4 times over. That's why I was ripped for so long. That was not fun, guys. But I got ripped, 550 grams of protein. My lowest point was 150 grams of fat. Now, surgery, I couldn't move as much. I had to learn my food intake eventually. So my protein went down to 350 and my fat went down to 120, like I said. Now that was a different preparation. I had to manage things a lot differently, a bit more carefully. But I did notice that I felt so much better. There was never a point in preparation where I felt, oh, I wish I had more food. Oh, I'm hungry. Oh, I want this. Thanks to videos like Pim's. I watched some of the older ones actually, from time to time, but I don't really have this like binge eating thing now. My show finished a week ago, guys. I've not cheated on my diet. I've not binged.
Yay.
I've not had a damn crap. Honestly, I'm sat here now thinking, oh, would it be nice to have French fries, chips, or no, I couldn't care less. It doesn't make me feel good. I'd rather just eat a bit more carnivorous food. And that small amount of extra beef mince I've had like the other day, or was it today actually? Oh, that did the job. And we're talking about 100 or 200 grams. You know, I've realized now I've overcome this hurdle where I know that I'm not going to feel better for eating all this crap. I'm not going to sleep as well. I'm going to gain weight and I feel crap. And everyone around me is going to think I'm moody, which is probably true at the moment, because when you're 4% body fat or less, you're very moody. But that's part and parcel of being a bodybuilder. So yeah, I'd say overall it's been a lot more enjoyable experience.
That's super cool. I was going to ask you about that just because we did speak about that. And I think that's a very good selling point, because that binge that I'm assuming most bodybuilders have after competition, it's not going to be any good for you. And the more you do it, the worse it's going to be for your health long term as well. So even if it's just for a period of time, it's like you're already working on the quite extreme conditions. So when you start doing that, your body's going to be like, whoa, what's happening? It's not going to be prepared for it. And you go all out. Really not good. So please don't do that. Don't do it at home. It's not safe. Another thing that kind of occurred to me now is you were talking about like the preparation, the shredding before the competition. Are you on a lower body fat percentage now when you're on a constant carnivore diet? So you don't actually have to prepare as much before the competition, or do you find like the preparation period is just as long and just as difficult?
That's a good question. There is a lot of nuance to this, and it's a very good question, actually. I'd say maintaining a leaner physique is a lot easier because I don't binge. I don't want to binge. I don't want to have a cheat meal. You know, I couldn't care less about that now. But I will say the level of suffering going from point A to point B is about the same in terms of how you feel, the debt on your body. Going from any body fat to a lean body fat is hard on the body. Your body does struggle. It's not something, oh, I got to 4% body fat or less doing the carnivore diet and it's easy. No, it is always hard. Getting to that level of leanness is hard. What I always say is when I am in the off-season phase, the bulking up phase, it's so much easier to maintain a leaner body weight. But what I will also say as a caveat to that is there's a certain set point range in your body composition journey when it comes to building muscle where you feel your best. And for most people, that's going to be somewhere, if you're male, between 10 and 20% body fat. For me, I'd say it's roughly 16% body fat. Unfortunately, that means I've got a puffy face. So when guys have seen my videos say, you're not that body fat, I'm like, yes, I am. I've got some body fat calipers right here, and they actually read me a lot less than what you think I am. But I hold my fat around my face. So it's not always a representation. So when I then show my abs, they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, I do have a six pack all the time throughout the entire year. It's quite easily maintained. And I notice this for a lot of my clients as well, that it's such a doddle. And they all eat different amounts of food, but they all have different mitochondrial health. So there's no, prescription calculator. Like, as Professor Bart Cahill says, the way you're going to go about it, guys, is just eating to satiety over time, doing the right training. Your body will follow suit. And it does work out that way for the vast majority of people. The problem is people like to hack and tweak and push the body in all sorts of directions. Fat fasting, sardine fasting, challenge this, challenge that. And a lot of the time that's where people go wrong, if I'm honest. I can't say enough about how many people I get from consultations and coaching clients call in and say, I've did this program, or I did protein sparing modified fast, or they did this or that. And it's always the extreme. It's never just, oh, I just did a dry fast for a couple of days, or, did a water fast like Pim's doing, or dry fast, sorry. It's always the extreme. People think they get more out of, but no, you just need to tweak it a little bit. A lot of the time, I'm just like teetering with people's macros, like adjusting their nighttime habits, and just giving them the 5 key health hacks sort of thing that Bart K does. Really simple, rudimentary stuff, and that gets people to probably 95% of the way there. But people love to hack and they love to fine tune, and we're all neurotic in nature, or at least bodybuilders are. I understand the need, like I said earlier, about the 1% of this, that, and the other. But I'd say, largely speaking, guys, the carnivore diet, mixed animal foods that you like and enjoy. If you have some emotional eating disorder problems, anything like that, consult with Pim, someone like that. If you get absolutely stuck, you got something really quite nasty, speak with someone who actually knows what they're talking about, Professor Bart K. If you can afford him, Dr. Chafee's good. If you can afford him, Dr. Sean Baker's good. But there's a few reliable sources of information out there. I won't go through all of them, but the information is out there, and you just need to find out what works for you and try not to push anything too hard in one direction.
Yeah, I love that. We're actually talking about intuitive eating here, which seems to be a really, really hard thing for most people to do. We just think that we need to get the perfect macros, the perfect amounts, the perfect foods, everything from some YouTube influencer like us or whatever, and then everything should just work out. Like, no, it doesn't work that way. Listen to your freaking body. If you go to the gym, you lift heavy weights, you do what Jonathan's doing, your body's going to tell you what you need. If you do what I do, which is a lot less exercise, I do maybe more walking, other type of things, oh, I don't need that much protein. There's no way that I can eat all of that. My taste buds are drawing me to fat. I'm almost always favoring fat. And on certain days, my body will tell me that I don't like fat today. And I'm listening to it. So it's not about having the set macro breakdown, which was really awesome to hear that you're like, I'm just eating what my body is telling me to eat. Not like, yeah, it's 80% fat, or sorry, yeah, 80% fat and 20% protein, or even 40% protein, 60% fat, whatever. You eat fat until you can't eat anymore when you're building because of your appetite. You eat, I guess, you end up on 350 grams of protein because that's what your body wants. And then that's it. It doesn't have to be complicated. And I just love that. So thank you so much for sharing that. I think it's such a good, relaxed way of doing it, because a lot of people think that there is an ideal thing that they can just adopt. So with that said, do you have any specific tips for anyone actually wanting to start building a lot of muscle, going into the bodybuilding fitness scene, like competing? Where should they start? Let's say they are currently on a normal diet. How do you go from that to start eating more carnivore?
Sure. So I'd say drop out one meal per week. So, for example, if you eat 3 meals per day, maybe your breakfast from now on for the next 2 weeks is bacon and eggs. It's not bacon, bagel, and eggs. Dump the bread, dump the cereal, dump the grains, whatever. You do that for 2 weeks. You keep your other meals the same. Then you choose your lunch. Maybe, you eat with family, you got children. maybe dropping out that dinner is probably the best one to do last, you know? Maybe your lunch you have out at work, you maybe see friends. Maybe you're not under some sort of ideological argument from someone around you to sort of eat, a certain kind of way. You skip out the lunch, change the lunch. Pickled eggs, I don't know, slice of cheese and tin of sardines. Back on the sardines again. Something like that. Something which you can manage and have when you're out and about, basically. Do you have 2 weeks? Then the dinner for 2 weeks. That's probably the way I'd go about it. Then I'd refine a bit more. So maybe you drop out the ketchup. Maybe you drop out the barbecue sauce. Maybe you look at how much tea you're drinking. Maybe you're drinking too much tea, too much coffee to go to bed. Then you start looking at the other sort of biohacky, quantum biology kind of stuff, that sort of thing. You start to refine more and more and more. Then as your symptoms change, so if you have any illnesses, and what I get a lot of people to do is draw a picture of their body, or a gingerbread man, go from head to toe, write down any ailments they have. Well, brain fog, don't sleep well, digestion hurts after eating dinner, whatever it is, always thirsty, constipation. Or you just write down all these things and give it a score out of 10. Each week that goes by, you'll start to get like, oh, that's better, that's better, that's better. Before you know it, your whole score will start on like everything's an 8 or 9 out of 10, being problematic. 6, then 5, then 4, then 3. Then when you get really stuck, then you should start looking at the videos. So what I would really recommend is my channel, Professor Bart K's channel, Pim's channel, Dr. Chafee, a few other people. I don't know. It's obvious who's out there that's good. Because if they've got doctor before their name or they're a nutritionist. If they got that, they're probably pretty good, in my opinion. From what I can tell anyway, at least. But yeah, then I'd say if you're going to try and, get a bit more refinement, you're looking for extra to bodybuilding, that sort of thing, body composition, I'd look through the playlist on my channel and it just says Bart K or Professor Bart K. So we've got a series of talks and shorts and probably, I don't know, maybe 10 hours worth of videos that would get you from A to B. And probably get you 95% of the way there in terms of bodybuilding stage ready. The last 5%, more nuance, more individualism. At that point, I would then book a consultation with myself or someone just to get the refinement you need. Because by that point, you probably know all the options, but you just need the direction. So you need someone to listen to you, what your experience is, how are you dealing with things, and that will expedite your results. So I'm quite big on consultations. I'm big on coaching. So yeah, there are options out there that are free. I don't consult with people for free, guys. I had to stop doing that. I really enjoy having 10 to 15 hours a week in my life, and it means a lot to me to be able to not stare at my phone for that time. So I don't consult with people for free, unfortunately. You have to respect my time. But yeah, the same thing for other people as well. Just get in touch with people, and oftentimes they'll help you out and give you a deal anyway, if you're lucky. So yeah, that's probably how I'd go about it in terms of wanting to be a carnivore bodybuilder or physique athlete from start to finish.
Nice. So with that said, we're just wondering, or I'm wondering anyway, what's next for you? What's happening?
Good question. Yeah, so I looked at the judges' criteria, the feedback, and I spoke to my coach. Long story short, I stormed the stage and I won straight first place votes. It was a definitive win, which was nice. But there's always room for improvement. You never have the perfect physique. You'll never get there. Even Arnold didn't have the perfect physique. Shock horror. What I will say is that I was invited to the British finals, which I believe, I could be wrong, October, November. It's about 20 weeks away from this day, roughly. I may do that one if my health is good and if I stay lean-ish up to that point. Getting to shape with chronic fatigue, autistic spectrum disorder, and severe spine and hip issues is not easy. It's a massive burden, as I've said already, like 20 million times, way too much. But I think that if I look at it logically, the amount of pride I got from that one competition was excellent. I could walk away now and feel like I've achieved more than I could ever want to achieve. I look back in 50 years' time and think, yeah, I did myself proud there. But on the flip side, you never know what you're going to place or who's going to turn up with these competitions. I could come last. It's very possible, but you have to be mentally prepared to accept defeat. Worst case scenario, it gives me more data about myself, more information to make great YouTube content. and deliver first-hand experience, which is important because a lot of what I say in my videos, it's not just brought about by, oh, someone made a video on it, I better do the same sort of thing. A lot of the time it's given my own experience of it as a bodybuilder, so a unique kind of angle on it. So yeah, I try to want to make more content for people, give people value, make concise videos, and importantly, answer people's damn questions. People generally don't want to be spending 2 hours watching these live videos, guys. They don't want to be watching these things. I think Professor Barkay and Pim did a great job actually recently of their live Q&A, because they answer people's questions. They get to the point, bam, answer question, next question, and it works. People like to go around the roses and make it a whole presentation, and the thing is, it's not the best way to go about it. You're going to reach more people, give more concise answers with a very thorough and accurate point of view. So saying, I don't know if this would be a good idea, however, these are the options that you have on the table that I would take a look at. Because it gives people their own sort of choice, you know. I've had so much generic advice that was given to me over the last year or so, or maybe 2 years, from people on the carnivore diet that hurt me. Because it was generic advice. Priming hurt me. That was deleterious to me. It wasn't helpful. Some people it's helpful, but for me it was hurt me. So yeah, it's a bad idea. That's why I'm very, if you want to speak to someone like myself, book in a consultation. We'll give you the best accurate representation of what I think would be a best practice based on the information and background you give me. I can't do it for a bloody Google YouTube video question answer section. It's impossible. So there we go.
Yeah, I'm just imagining you priming like a kilo protein per day or something.
Man eats kilo of protein with 6 kilos of Greek yogurt and 2 kilos of steak. Yeah, probably. Check out my site at compositionconsultant.com, where your journey to peak performance and optimal health begins. With a degree in human nutrition and over 15 years of training experience, I've guided more than 400 carnivores to not just meet, but exceed their physique and performance goals. Through personalised consultations, comprehensive ebooks and dedicated coaching, I'm here to ensure your success. Join the ranks of those who have transformed their lives. It's time to align your physique goals with positive health outcomes. Visit compositionconsultant.com today and take the first step towards the best version of you.
Okay, thank you so much for all that information, which I think is super valuable for not just people that actually try to build, but anyone actually who wants to stay healthy. And I'm wishing you the best of luck. I'm hoping that you will remain lean and healthy and you will be able to go to the next competition. But please let me know.
That means a lot.
You're welcome. Thank you. See if we can turn this off as well. There's the stop button. I hope you're not in too much pain right now. You have to hop up.
I'm all right. I'm sat on the seat like that.
Yeah,
I've got about 40 minutes in me that I'm trash, and people think I'm trying to be awkward. I'm like, no, I'm literally fucked. Like, you know, it's like you explain to people I can't do these things, and they don't listen. It's like, no, I'm being serious. I can't do these things.
Yeah,
you know. But that was brilliant. You asked really good questions. I could go and fucking hammer it. Loved it.
So, do you think that this pain is ever gonna go away? Is there a way to? Is it improving at all?
If I'm honest, no. It feels like my tailbone, my sacrum area, it feels like it's double the size. So, say my lower back's there, my tailbone's there. That always feels like it's pressed up against something really fucking hard.
Is it
like concrete?
Is it worse after the surgery or better?
Worse.
Ouch.
Yeah. The carnivore diet is it moderates pain, it modulates pain, but it does not fix a structural issue, which is very obvious when you've seen my back and my hips. So,
do you regret having the surgery?
Good question. I don't know how much worse it could be.
Yeah.
Because there was, before I had surgery, it was like 7 or 8 out of 10 pain. I'm like, okay, I can quantify that in my head. But have I reached another level now? But that's my new 7 or 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
There's no way to know. Honestly, I don't. But build muscle and lose fat on the carnivore diet.